Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome back to the self-portrait live stream. Today I'm going to just be continuing on my shirt here and doing some more layers. Hopefully get the rest of the shirt looking like the bottom part here, and that will set me up really good for where I'm at in the process of doing these daily streams for the entirety of the month of May. I hope you guys have been enjoying the process. Hopefully you've learned a few things, so getting to see the entirety of the process from beginning to end in real time. Oh, hey there, Sandri. Thank you very much. Glad you like the way that it's looking. I am quite pleased with the progress I have been making in the past few days. Yesterday I finished up the background. The background is 100% complete. I will not have to touch it again. So that's a really good thing, considering it takes up roughly, I don't know, 40% of the real estate of my paper. So having 40%, 100% complete is a really good spot to be in. And today, I'm not thinking that I'm going to get my shirt completely done today, but what I do want to get done is getting this next layer laid down so that I have a really good portion of it done. I'd say that maybe by the end of today's live stream, I'll have the shirt like 80%-ish done, somewhere around that. I'm just kind of pulling these percentages out of thin air, so don't take them too seriously. But I am quite pleased with the way that it is looking so far, so I am happy in that regard. Today is day 21. Goodness, day 21. 3 weeks in. We got 10 more days, down to the final 10. Can't believe it's coming to an end. When I do daily live streams, the month just vanishes. It's the reason why I don't do daily live streams like on a regular basis is because it would just make my life disappear, I feel like. Yeah, I couldn't do daily streams for more than a month. In a month, I mean, that's a lot of streaming. If you think about it, on average, I'd say my live streams are about an hour and a half. So that's about 45 hours a month of streaming, which, I mean, you usually work about 40 hours a week, like a normal 9-to-5 type job, but streaming just feels different, I guess. I don't know, it just makes the time go by too quickly. I'm not comfortable with the amount of time that I feel like I lose when I stream every day. But either way, it is a lot of fun, and I do enjoy doing it. I didn't really pick this sleeve for any particular reason to start on today, but apparently that's where I'm going to start. Hopefully just get it nice and smooth, and then there's actually not really any highlights on this sleeve. It's actually more dark than it is the rest of the part. A lot of it is in the cast shadow here, so I'll probably end up darkening it more and more as time goes by. Oh, hey there, Jama. Good to see you. Hi there, Marcy. Yeah, I need a break from the rain too. It's been the weather's been super weird here. Like it will start off looking really good in the morning and early afternoon, and then all of a sudden the clouds like roll in 5 minutes, and then it just starts to rain like crazy. I actually don't even remember looking outside yesterday, so I don't know if it rained yesterday, but I do remember in the evening there was this really, really nice sunset. It wasn't raining then, but there was plenty of clouds, which made for the really nice sunset. I almost thought about taking a picture, but I was too busy being a bum. Hope everyone had a nice Monday. My wife and I, we watched the last episode, the season finale. I don't know, I have a hard time calling it a finale. It's just more like the last episode of Game of Thrones. And you know what? After we watched it, I'm not gonna do any spoilers, so you can breathe easy. No spoilers, so don't worry. After we finished it, I don't know. We were both kind of just not sure. Like my wife wasn't a huge fan of the way they ended it, as probably a lot of people weren't really much of a fan of the way that they completed the show. But when I thought about it for a minute, I told her, I was like, I don't know if I would have wanted it to end differently than what they did, because you don't really expect what happens, and I liked that. I liked that they did something that you didn't really expect, and I don't know. There's a few things that I think just felt rushed about the ending, about this season in general. Actually, I felt like this season, everything just felt really rushed because the pacing of the show has just been so slow all the way up to this point. This is like the pinnacle of the show, and I don't know, the season just felt rushed. Like they knew they had to finish it, and they had to tie up all these loose ends, and so they just tried to tie them all up as fast as possible. And even though the battle with the dead in this season was a really cool episode, it still felt like too quick. It still felt like too rushed for me. Yeah, I felt like it should have been over 2 episodes at least. This is supposed to be like the epic battle for, the most intense battle ever, and it was just 1 episode, and like that was it. I just felt like it was justified to make it at least a 2 episode thing. But yeah. Without sharing spoilers in the chat, you guys can chime in if you're fans of the show. Yeah, you were a bit disappointed also. Oh, hey, what's up, Cece? We're talking Game of Thrones a little bit, talking about our disappointment for the last episode. I don't see, with me, I'm not sure if I was completely disappointed in the last episode because of the way that they decided to end it, or because I'm just disappointed that the show's over. It's kind of hard to differentiate those two feelings because it became a show that I was really invested in the characters, and it's kind of sad to think that I'm not gonna get any more time with those characters, especially Arya. Like, she was one of the characters that became my favorite several seasons ago, and it was really nice to see her progression and her growth of a character. And now she's like embarking on this epic adventure, and I was like, the HBO needs to just make a TV show of Arya's adventure after all these events. I want to follow her. I mean, all the way up to this season, I really liked Dany. And, I didn't think that was going to change this season. I thought I was going to like her even more. But they made it very easy to just straight up stop liking her. And I was a little disappointed in that. Yeah, I was a little disappointed that I could just stop liking her so quickly because of the way they wrote her in this season. I felt like she changed, but there was no catalyst for the change. I just felt like she changed because the writers made her change, and it was just confusing. It was like, I don't get it. Why? She just became like super vindictive and tyrannical, I guess. She became everything that she was standing up against for the entirety of the running of the show, and then all of a sudden, like within 2 episodes, she immediately becomes everything she's not supposed to represent. And I was like, what happened? Like, what changed? And you don't really know. I mean, the only thing that changed was what she knew about Jon. And yeah, it was just like, I was like, I don't feel like that's enough. I feel like if, a person's going to change their principles, I feel like it needs to be a little bit more significant than some information about the person that she supposedly loves. Oh, hey there, Kenny. Yeah, I was hoping that well, yeah, you kind of spoiled it a little bit. Um, yeah, I'm not doing any spoilers. No spoilers. So you kind of spoiled that Arya doesn't kill Cersei, but I suppose that's not the worst spoiler you could come across, considering it's such a small bit in the show anyway. Yeah, she never really uses the full potential of what she was trained to do, as far as like becoming another person. But I guess it makes sense because, in order to become another person, she has to kill them in the first place. And she kind of has, she has her list, and she's not going around just killing people for the sake of completing her list. She's just killing the people on her list. And the one time that she did use it, it was absolutely epic, but I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword. Either she uses it and it kind of gets like, it kind of distorts her character in the sense that she's not actually playing the part. If she becomes somebody else, then she's not even on screen. So I don't know. I kind of like that she just uses her stealthy ninja-like training as opposed to killing people and taking their faces. It would have been kind of poetic for her to kill Cersei, but also at the same time, she can't kill everyone. She can't be the one that gets to kill everyone. Yeah, John was a little bit of a disappointment. The way that they completed his character, because you know he had like, I don't know. It felt like they were building him up for something really really great, something really really great, and then they just like, well, we'll just we'll not let it be great. You invest so much interest in his character, and they kind of just disappoint you with his resolve. His whole character arc was, it was kind of like just one big letdown. It was like a constant buildup of his character, and in the end, there's absolutely zero reason to ever reveal who his parents actually are. I mean, if you think about it, it played no role in the entire story. It had no purpose whatsoever, unless you make the argument that him finding out and telling Danny is what caused her to essentially just go crazy. I mean, other than that, there's zero reason for it to be used, unless you play the oh well, if this didn't happen and this didn't happen and then this wouldn't happen, and you get to the whole Tyrion mess and all of that stuff. But yeah, I don't think that information is what caused Danny to do what she did, and in the end, I feel like the information was completely wasted. It was like it played no role in the show, but it was made into this really big deal. And the worst part is, like, you know, like, after, as you move forward, the way the show ends, you know what Bran is doing, you know what Arya is doing, you know what Sansa is doing. You even know what Tyrion is doing. The characters that you care about, you know what they're doing. You can kind of perceive what their future is. But with Jon, you're just left with meh. It's like, well, what is he doing? Because at the end, the way that it ends, you're like, I don't get it. What? I know what everybody else's role is in the show as it goes, beyond the show. But Jon, you're just left hanging. It's like, that was like the character that I cared most about, and you don't tell me what his life is going to be leading towards. That was really disappointing. Hey there, Gary. Ulrich. Yeah, just welcome to the live stream. We're just having a friendly, non-spoiler conversation about Game of Thrones. I don't know why I'm jumping from one side to the other, but whatever. I do what I want. Where's my paintbrush? Where'd it go? Oh. It's hiding from me. Oh, hey there, Chrissy. Yeah, the shirt is coming along. Definitely making improvements today. It's amazing what just a few extra minutes of layering can do to a drawing. By the end of the day, the shirt will probably on camera look pretty close to just being done, but it will still be pretty far from being done. Because I'll have to bring out the highlights again, darken the shadows, and then I'll have to do some toning. So still plenty of work to be done on the shirt, even as good as I may get it looking today. You know, this centerpiece just drives me absolutely nuts. I'm going to just skip the stripes and I'm going to work just on this and then like the collar part. What kind of eraser did I use on the colored pencil? I used a kneaded eraser and then I just used a regular rubber eraser. I used a little bit of both. There's nothing really special about it. I mean, the kneaded eraser is just something that I usually pick up at the art store anytime I happen to find myself there, because it occasionally I'll go there to buy like a paintbrush and a little bit of solvent for my oil paint, but that's about it. And I always just, they have like the things at the register that you see and you grab and you're like, oh, I'll get this too. Well, they always have kneaded erasers there. I think they're Faber-Castell brand. But I only get there maybe twice a year, if that, and so I just grab an extra kneaded eraser, and I probably replace them much more than you would ever need to, because you can like use a kneaded eraser until it starts smelling really bad, and that will take several years. Listening to you talk about Game of Thrones, I haven't watched the series. I guess I will have to watch it when it goes to a box series. Oh yeah. It's definitely worth the watch. I mean, you like the fantasy stuff, and I think you would really enjoy this series. It has a lot of fantasy aspects to it, not to the scale in which like Lord of the Rings has. It's not scaled up to that level of fantasy, but there is a degree of fantasy to it. It's more of a realistic fantasy. There's a tiny bit of magic, not a lot, just a very small amount of mysticism, I guess. It's less magic and more mysticism. But and then of course there's dragons. So you have, that's about the extent of the fantasy aspect of it. But the the story, the battle for the Iron Throne, and all of that is really compelling and quite political and fun. It's just fun. I'd have to go back and rewatch the first season to see if I still think that the first season was probably the worst season of the show, because it was tough for me to get through the first season. But I don't know if that would be the case now, since I know the characters and I would like them from the beginning just because of that. Anytime I watch a show, I always think of like bringing all the episodes together and like turning it into a movie. So since there's eight seasons, like finding a really cool way to condense it down to 8 movies, like 8 3-hour long movies, that would be rad. But that would take so much time. And there'd be absolutely zero benefit to doing it. There, now I feel better about that strip of buttons. Now I can get back to the stripes. If you guys have any questions for me, Game of Thrones related or not, be more than happy to take on some questions. Also today, I'll be finishing the Lion project over on Patreon, the Lion Pastel project. There's actually still like a ton to do, but I'm going to call the project complete for Patreon today. I think this is the 6th week that we've been working on the project. I mean, it's a rather large pastel painting and quite detailed, but I've brought it to the extent where there's very few techniques that I can really, there's actually no new techniques that I can really discuss. So the teaching part is over, and it's time to just call it done. So I'll be finishing that, and then hopefully I didn't lose any footage during the process, and I'll be able to put together a condensed time-lapse tutorial version of the project, and then I'll share the finished painting. I might even sell it. Might even sell the lion painting. People like lions. Maybe I'll just, I don't know. I was thinking actually the other day, I was like, I have some time. I should just list a few of my pastel paintings on my website, see if anybody wants to buy them. But almost as soon as I thought about it, I was like, oh, I really don't want to. I don't want to do it. I can't stand doing website stuff. It's so tedious and boring, and I wish that I could just hire somebody to do all my website stuff. It'd probably look better if I could find somebody that knew what they were doing. I'm gonna give my pencil a quick sharpen. It's getting a little dull. What kind of projects are you guys in the chat working on? You guys got any cool projects underway, or something that you might be starting soon? I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the next pastel project for Patreon, so if you guys have any ideas for me, I know a few of you helped me come up with the idea for the colored pencil project that we started working on last week, which was the beta fish, and that was a really cool idea. I've been enjoying that project. So maybe you guys can help me out with what to do for the next pastel project. My live stream didn't stop working, did it? Am I into dragons? I mean, never really thought about it. I guess, sure, dragons are cool. I guess I've never really been into them, but they're cool looking, I guess. I don't really know how to respond to that question. I guess the only response I could say is no. I'm not really into dragons. I don't have like much connection to them. I never really gave them much thought. So I guess I have to say no just because of that. But a dragon would be a cool idea. The only thing with like doing like a dragon project is, now would I be using somebody else's portrayal of a dragon, or would I be coming up with my own dragon and then coloring it from there? Because projects like that I don't do tutorials of on Patreon, because it would take too long. The designing stage and all of that would just be too much for a Patreon tutorial. Black, a black cockatoo. I never heard of that before. 100 days of sketching challenge. Oh yeah, that would be cool. That sounds like a fun challenge. Still painting fantasy landscape. Yeah, yeah. That one is really big, so I can only imagine that it's going to take a really long time. Working on a toddler. Yeah, children are a unique challenge to draw in color just because proportions are so their proportions are so different than adults, and you have to you kind of have to feel like you're breaking all the rules that you may have been taught about drawing portraits, because their proportions, their facial proportions and everything are just completely different. They have really big heads and teeny tiny faces. That's basically kids in a nutshell. Big heads and small faces. Oh, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you over on Patreon. Oh, hey there, Dimitra. Good to see you. Yeah, my oil painting project is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated also. I think in January I said that I should have it done by the end of February. In February, I thought maybe somewhere in April, and in April I just quit talking about it because it's still so far from being complete. And maybe after I finish this daily live stream stuff, maybe I'll just slow down a little bit and you know just work on my oil painting. I'd like to have it I would like to have it done before I go to the United States. I mean, at least the painting done, and then by the time I get back, I might be able to varnish it, because I'm putting such thin layers of paint on it at this stage that the thick stuff is all dry because it's been like 6 months. But I mean, I started working on it, I think in September. If I'm not mistaken, I started it in September of last year. And I did not anticipate it taking even 6 months to complete, but now it's looking like it's going to take closer to a year, which I really didn't anticipate. But yeah, that's actually somewhat normal for oil paintings. Probably not of that size, but it's a really difficult. I'm trying not to give anything away about it, but it's very difficult. Very difficult painting. And just when I feel like when I work on it, I get like a part done, and I'm like, oh, okay, that looks that looks good. I might be able to not have to work on it again. And then if you've never worked with oil paint, just know that the paint does not apply the way that it looks when it dries. So when you are mixing your paint on your palette, when you are applying it and all of that, sometimes it can look significantly different than what it ends up looking like once it's dry. So there's just like this constant retouching and redoing, and it's just a never-ending cycle. Maybe that's why I like oil painting so much. I like it because it's one of the more difficult mediums to work with, and maybe it's because it's like constantly evolving as it dries, and it turns into something different than what you think it is, and then you have to just redo things and recalculate your colors and change your strategy and all of that. But one day I will be complete. How about doing a painting of Detective Pikachu? That could be fun. Yeah, that could be a fun project. I haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know what to tell you. It really does not come out until May 31st. I don't know why. It's available everywhere else in the world, but it doesn't come into our theaters until May 31st. I triple, quadruple checked. My wife checked. So date night this week will be John Wick. That's what we're going to watch this Wednesday. I hope that John Wick 3 is better than John Wick 2, because John Wick 2 was kind of a joke. Like I wanted to like it because I thought the first John Wick movie was really fun and really good, and Keanu Reeves is one of my all-time favorite actors because he's a great person, and he really dedicates himself to his roles. So I wanted to like it for that reason, but John Wick 2 was just a train wreck. It was just awful. Terrible story. Terrible villain. So I'm hoping they don't try to recreate John Wick 1, because John Wick 2 was like John Wick 2, if you've never seen John Wick 2 but you've seen the first movie, then you've seen the second movie, because John Wick 2 is the same as John Wick 1, but they change the bad guys' names and basically just say, this is bad guy, this is the bad guy's dad, or this is the bad guy's cousin, or this is just, and it's really, really bad. They essentially just remade the first one, but not as good. Do I have pastel lessons on Patreon? Yes. Who are not for complete beginners, but a little more difficult, complicated. Yeah, I have. I do. So, Patreon consists of a huge library of tutorials that covers colored pencils and pastels. So when you sign up, you'll immediately have access to all of those. Now I do have some basic pastel tutorials, but since I have those in the library of overall tutorials, I've started doing more complex subjects this year, And I have complex ones also in the library, but I live stream every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays are the pastel live stream, and Thursdays are the colored pencil live stream. And pretty much from this point forward, all of the pastel projects will be at an intermediate level because I sell the Intro to Pastel course, and if you're looking to get into pastels and kind of progress at a more beginner rate, then the course is what I would recommend over my Patreon page at this point. Yeah, so the pastel tutorials on Patreon that I've been doing all this year so far have been a more difficult skill level, a more intermediate skill level. All right, let's do some blending now. Your oil painting is going to be an epic and exciting reveal. I really hope so. I forget if I was talking about it on the live stream or if I was just talking to my sister about it, but you know, when you create something and you tell people about it, but you don't show them the process or anything like that, I guess I've kind of dug myself a hole with my oil painting in the sense that I've kind of been hyping it for like 6 months ever since I started working on it. And with each session of painting, like I get more and more excited about it being complete. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that it's going to be my favorite painting that I've ever done. And it will be the best painting that I've ever done since it's completely original and my own design and idea and everything. But at the same time, I guess, you know, I've done personal projects in the past. I've done projects that were just for me, and I didn't really care what anybody thought of them. I'm probably most anxious about this painting and how it will be received, because all the other projects that I've done in the past that I really spent a lot of time planning and designing and creating, they were like, I put them up as videos and they were just another video. They just kind of got lost in the fray, and they never really garnered the appreciation that I thought that they would because of the amount of time that I put into them. And I guess in a way I don't know what to expect as the response. My audience now is much larger than it was when I did some of my other personal projects. In fact, it's about 6 times the size since I've done a truly like just personal project that I do for myself. And yeah, so I guess I'm a little anxious on what people think of it, even though it won't really bother me either way. It's just I'm just kind of curious to see what the response will be of the painting, because I have no idea what you guys think it might be of. No idea. I've purposely been completely vague. I've shared 2 pictures on Facebook and I think maybe Instagram, or there was a short video. So all of the colors and a tiny bit of the actual painting has been shared over the past 6 months. Just 2 pictures. but all of the colors, every single color that will be in the painting has been shared. And yeah, so I have no idea what you guys think it might be. And my wife's mom, she's in Germany right now, but she visited a month ago. She was here for a couple weeks, and she came over and she saw the painting as it is now, and she was very supportive of it, and she thought it was very, very nice looking, just at the stage that it is now. She saw it, yeah, exactly as it is now, because it's been over a month since I've gotten to work on it. Oh, hey there, Jesse. Good to see you. I just have the left sleeve here. Well, technically it's the right sleeve, but I think you get the idea. I just have that sleeve left to apply pencils to. I'll blend out this part and these stripes over here, and that will be where I wanted to get today. Just really get the layers put down, the colors nice and smooth, make the shirt look, you know, more complete, more in its final stage. It has certainly come a long way. I mean, in this area you can see that all here the paper is completely covered, whereas here the paper is not completely covered, and then this sleeve over here is completely covered, and then once I smooth this out, it will look like the paper is completely covered. So, making good progress today. Because I think I was mostly worried about the shirt, actually, when I was still working on the skin and the arm and stuff, and the shirt was not even started yet. I felt like the shirt was going to take way too long for me to complete this portrait in a month. I really thought that I was going to run out of time, but I was telling my wife last night that now that I have the paper completely covered, and yesterday I finished the background 100%, I was actually telling her, I was like, I might actually have to slow down because I might finish it too soon. But yeah, I won't let that happen. I won't let it be that I finish too soon. Because no matter how close I get to completion, I will always have something that I can polish the details on. Make some tiny adjustments until I have it absolutely perfect the way that I want to see it. I am doing very well, thank you for asking. Still trying to find a new house or a new flat to move to. I finally got my wife to do a little looking yesterday. I was looking for a new flat or a new house. The more I look, the less the less of a good outlook that I have buying a house in Poland. There's a few that are somewhat close to where we live now, because we're not trying to move very far away from where we live now, just for the sake of when my wife's mom returns from Germany. It's an easy transit, because sometimes they just walk back and forth, because it's exactly 1 kilometer to the west, to the northwest of us. And it's a very easy walk, and we make that walk very regularly. And so we're trying to keep it about as close as this, but also within a reasonable price range, because if there's anything I've learned in the past like week or so looking for houses, that the prices just seem to be completely random and incoherent. Alright, I'm going to use my electric pencil sharpener. Give me 1 second. I love my electric sharpener. This is a Prismacolor pencil, and look at that tip. You can't get that anywhere else. So this will be the last bit for today, doing this sleeve here. I will I'll do another layer over the entire sleeve, and then I'll smooth everything out with solvent, and the shirt will be ready for its final stage of coloring after today. And I will do that tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll get the shirt probably close to 95% complete. Bring in some of the highlights, do a little bit of the toning with some red and green. So I'm going to say maybe about another 20 minutes for today's live stream. I'm guessing that's about how long it will take me to fill in these colors and blend it out with solvent. So don't wait on asking any of your questions, because the stream will be over before you know it. Have I watched 47 Ronin? I believe so. I'm not sure. I've watched, it sounds really familiar, but I just can't quite remember it. It sounds too familiar for me to have not watched it. I would be surprised if I haven't watched it. It's probably one of those movies that not only does the title sound familiar, but if I watch it, I would have been, during the watching part of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I have watched this, but I don't remember any of it. It's one of those movies. If you type, oh, you're just, yeah. It is very easy for me to see the questions better if you do that @ symbol with my name. Thanks, Marcy, for letting people know that. I draw flowers with Prisma on Bristol Smooth, but I have smudges everywhere. What can I do? The reason you have smudges everywhere is because you're dragging your hand through your colored pencils. Use a piece of paper, or glassine paper, or something like that to rest your hand on, and you'll avoid the smudges. Also, even if you use a piece of paper to rest your hand on, don't move this paper around. Move this paper as little as possible. So when I need to move it, I move it with no pressure. I'm not moving it with my hand, because even though glassine paper is meant for things not to stick to it, that's not the case. Things will still eventually stick to it. And so anytime that I need to move it, I remove my hand, I slide it, and I keep it in place. I don't let it move around underneath my hand. So that will prevent the smudges. Was there another one? Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the way the picture is coming out. If you guys have been enjoying today's live stream, don't forget to give it a thumbs up for me. Just like my daily live streams for Inktober, slowly as the month progresses, fewer and fewer people end up coming to the live streams. And another common occurrence, streaming every day. It just baffles me. It truly does. It just completely baffles me how it happens. But you would think that, I probably went like 3 weeks or something without doing any videos before the month of May. And so you would assume that, all that time off, not uploading any content, that my daily subscriber count would go down, my daily views and my minutes watched and all of that stuff. And the funny thing is, every single time the opposite happens. I don't know what it is. Like when I go on my trip to America and I take that time off from doing anything YouTube or work related, I guarantee you that I will gain more subscribers, more people will be watching my videos, and everything will start going up. And the funny thing is that you would assume that if that's the case when I'm not doing something, that if I then spend the entire month streaming every single day, that all of that stuff would get even higher. You would think that if I'm streaming every day, making an hour-long video on my channel essentially every single day for the entirety of a month, you would think that all of that stuff would be going up. But as I've learned from doing month-long streaming sessions on YouTube, that actually the complete opposite ends up happening. And for the life of me, I have no idea why. I don't know why. But all of my statistics, all of my stats that are not statistics, all of my stats for my channel are significantly dropping this month. I probably get about half as many subscribers now than before the month of May. I would say my watch time, ironically, even though, I am uploading an hour's worth of content every day for the entire month, my watch time is down about a fourth, so about 25% down. And my views are down. Everything is just going down further and further, and it happens, and I don't know why it does. It's so weird. It's so strange the way it works. But you would think that it would be the complete opposite, because I actually discovered this weird, strange phenomenon back in 2017 when I did my first month of daily live streams for the Inktober. And for the entire month, like my first Inktober live stream did really, really well. It had a lot of people watching it, and it had like 5,000 views or something like that. Probably still one of the best live streams that I've had. And then as the month progressed, less and less people started showing up to the live streams, to the point that it was about a third of what would originally come. And then after the month, everything was just like the watch time, the views, the subscribers, literally everything about my channel just was like cut in half. And I was like, I just spent an entire month, and I remember that first year I streamed for like 55, like 57, somewhere between that, so like 56 hours. That's how much content I'd uploaded in a single month. I mean, that's so much content. And I was totally confused at why all of those stats continued to drop. It was so strange. So the same thing is happening now, because like right now, I mean, 25, like peak, the highest number that we've reached today for today's live stream is 25. And that's really low. That's not a normal number for my live streams in general. And it's so strange that each day it just gets less and less and less, and I'm not changing anything. I'm doing everything that I did on the day one, the way that I'm promoting it and all of that stuff. And it's just really strange. YouTube is so weird. It's so weird. It just doesn't make any sense ever. I mean, granted, today being a little bit lower than yesterday makes a lot of sense, because I changed the time, and it's really early for a lot of my US viewership, but still, it just continues to go downhill. It's so weird. YouTubers say that you have to upload at least 2 times a week in order to have exponential growth. That is just made up nonsense. About that people showing up, you should do more slug videos. yeah, I should sculpt another slug. Maybe YouTube considers daily streams as spam and does not recommend or promote them. That's a good idea. It probably is. It probably does somewhat regard it as that, but yeah, it still just seems really weird. It seems really, really weird. I mean, the other thing that seems really weird is that when I upload a video, like, I'm not really expecting it to get to 1,000 views, which is which is strange because I have almost 66,000, I think, or 65,000 subscribers. And that number is so pointless. Like, I don't know where they're at. Supposedly I have that many subscribers, but I have no idea where they're at. Because the same people show up to my live streams, and I don't know where these other subscribers are at. I have no idea where they're at. But apparently they have subscribed to my channel. And I learned yesterday why YouTube has... I learned why YouTube has made subscriptions obsolete. Because subscriptions, they are actually just completely pointless now on YouTube. Because regardless of subscribing to somebody's channel, YouTube doesn't tell you when they upload a video anymore, which it makes so little sense. It did make so little sense, but I discovered that YouTube changed this because they found that they can get people to watch YouTube videos longer and more often if they don't do that, and instead they just let the algorithm promote whatever content it thinks they might watch for longer periods of time. And it works. YouTube's watch time is significantly better, ironically, if they don't let people see the videos from the people that they subscribe to. It just seems so wrong, I guess. It's so weird. It's just a weird way to run a business. It seems very anti-creator from my perspective. You are doing live streams in the middle of the night. Your subs are asleep. Well, no, it's not the middle of the night. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon for me. The problem is that a portion of my subscriber base is in the US, and it is too early in the morning for them. But I also have a large subscriber base in Europe and in Australia. So even then, and I also have a lot in India. And they're a few hours ahead of me, so. Yeah, either way, it just, I'm not sure why I brought it up. I'm not complaining or anything. It just makes me wonder, that's all. I do perfectly fine on YouTube. I was never seeking to, be one of the big YouTubers. I don't think that I want that kind of attention anyway, where everybody watches every word you say and wait for you to say something that they can misquote and reinterpret to, start some absurd controversy. Yeah, I'm not really looking for that kind of lifestyle. I've said it 1,000 times that I've said it. I think I've been saying it since I reached 10,000 subscribers, that I don't care if I don't get a single, like, one more subscriber, because all of the subscribers that I do have that come over to my live streams and hang out with me all the time, that's all I could ever ask for. I mean, I have the best subscribers on YouTube. So if I never gained another one, I wouldn't complain, because I do perfectly fine just as I am now. So YouTube can just do whatever it wants. I just found it really interesting that it's a very consistent thing that every time I do daily live streams, YouTube's like, yeah, let's just stop promoting this guy's channel while he's streaming every day. I get stream notifications, but the upload notification doesn't come as often anymore. Yeah. Well, certainly have a dedicated band of followers. Yeah, I do. That's why I love my subscribers, and I don't care to make any more, because the ones that I have are the best that I could ever ask for. And to be honest with you, like, I know how I could make my channel more popular. I know exactly how to make my channel more popular, but I refuse to play that game. I absolutely refuse to lower my standards to create the kind of content that disgusts me. That pandering, clickbaity garbage, I will never let myself get to that low standard of creation. I just can't do it. And I had a consultation. I had 6 consultations with my YouTube, whatever they're called, my multi-channel network, and they talked about, like, what I could do, to grow my channel faster and appeal to a larger audience, and blah 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 blah. And one of the things that they recommended that I do is that within the first, like, 10 or 15 seconds of my videos, that I tell people to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. And I mean, I straight up told him, I was like, no, like, I won't do that. I'm not going to ever become that stereotypical YouTuber that talks about smashing the like button and subscribing for no reason. Like, I don't even want to ask for it ever. Occasionally I'll put it in the video, but to be honest with you, it doesn't. The like button is completely irrelevant to YouTube. It's so irrelevant. It has zero impact on the video and on the promotion of the video. The only thing that YouTube cares about is that you watch the video for a long time. That is the only important factor. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But there was certain things that they asked me, or they recommended me start doing when I had my consultations, and I told him, I just flat out said no, because I was like, I don't want to be that person. That's not who I am. I just can't bring myself to do something that I think is dumb. Because I could probably have a much larger channel, but I don't care. I don't need it to be larger. I live perfectly comfortable just the way that it is, and it's more than enough for me. I just refuse to lower my standards. The paper that I'm resting my hand on is glassine paper. Sometimes it's called interleaving paper, depending on what part of the world you live in. But it's just a sheet that I get with my pastel mat, because I get the gummed pads of pastel mat, and they have those sheets in between the paper, and so I use those sheets to rest my hand on and stuff. I'm almost done with today's live stream, by the way. I'm just going to blend this sleeve out with some solvent, and that is going to be it. Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like to tell people that I'm a YouTuber when I meet people in real life, and they ask me what I do, and I get to say, oh, I'm a professional YouTuber because this is what I do for a living. It's fun to say. It's cool. I feel cool saying it. I'm not gonna lie. It feels nice to be able to say it because I've never met a professional YouTuber. I've never met one, and so I like to be able to give that opportunity to people because a series of questions always arises afterwards. So it's just an easy conversation starter, and I'm socially awkward enough that I suck at conversations. I'm terrible at starting a conversation. I'm terrible at continuing a conversation. So if the subject doesn't die, then I'm pretty good at conversation. But as soon as there's a moment of silence, it immediately turns to just awkward silence, and I don't know what to do. So when I can just say, oh, I'm a professional YouTuber, they usually have a string of questions that just makes the conversation so much easier for me. But yeah, it's really cool to say in person. But I don't participate in the overwhelming popularity contest that takes place on YouTube. I avoid, partaking in drama nonsense. I think it's completely retarded. It does not appeal to me at all. And I was the same exact way when I was in high school or in school in general. I just avoided any sensationalism of being popular, being liked by everyone. Because I see channels that over the time I've seen channels that all they do is talk about like the drama stuff, and I watch their channel just grow from like 5,000 subscribers to like 500,000, and they provide no actual like anything. They just say the same stuff over and over again, and apparently that's how you can get popular on YouTube, by just being like everybody else. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Dimitra. Yeah, garbage nonsense. That's a good way of putting it. Wicked Illusions. One of the things that drives me nuts is the terrible art tutorials. There's so many bad art tutorials. That just drives me nuts. I when a video gets promoted to me and it's an art tutorial, sometimes I'll watch it, most of the time I don't, but sometimes I'll watch it to see why it's being recommended to me. There's so many people out there that are good at art, but they're terrible at teaching. And they use the clickbaity, they use the clickbait stuff. They use all the techniques to go viral, capital letters in the title, they always propose those type of questions like, oh, what is it that, I don't know, I can't even like pretend to come up with a clickbaity title because I find them so irritating. But they pander so well to the younger audience that's who's clicking on it. And the tutorials are always the same thing. They're always the same thing. They're a good concept. They're a good like idea, like or a good question. Like, what is the one thing you could do to immediately improve blah 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 right now? Like those kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, what is the one thing? And it's always something super general, right? It's always something that they never articulate very well. It's always something that's completely obvious, but somehow they squeeze like 15 minutes of just nonsense rambling about this super general topic. And then because of the thumbnail, because of the title, it gets popular. But nobody's benefiting from it, right? It drives me crazy. It does. It drives me absolutely crazy. That's why I don't release nearly as many tutorials as some other YouTube creators, because I spend much more time writing. I write my tutorials. I always write them before I record them. I don't just sit there and ramble to my camera. Anyways, I think I've rambled enough for today. I apologize for my complaining, but sometimes it's just better to get it out than keep it in. Because I really appreciate all of you guys. I hope I make that painfully obvious. I want it to be so painfully obvious that there's no deniability. But yeah, the shirt is coming together really well. Tomorrow I'll continue working on it, darkening some of the shadows. Some of these shadows are really just still the blocky shapes, especially this one over here. And so there needs to be a little bit of a transition where it fades into the other color. Because right now I've kind of taken the dimension of the shirt and flattened it a little bit by doing these layers. But now I have like a really, really solid foundation for the colors, and I can still see some of the highlights showing through, so not all is lost there. But tomorrow I'll just continue to build the form and the volume of the shirt, making it look even more three-dimensional. That's going to be the goal. So yeah, you'll get to see how that's done. Essentially, it's just more layers. That's the real secret of colored pencils, is layers. If you don't like the way it looks, add more layers. That's the big secret. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming by and hanging out with me. Hope I entertained you for a little bit at least. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. And for those of you on Patreon, I'll see you in about 2 hours. So see you then. Take care. Peace.